So to be normal is to be the relative definition of your two sides as a human being, which is that you and everyone else are both an individual and a part of a community. And that you, as an individual, have an effect on that community, and the community has an effect on you. That is what it means to be normal. So, I'm a journal leader. I've been journaling since 8th grade, and I came across my first journal. I have two. One that I've had since, I think, late 2019, and then my journal from before then. And in that journal from before, from 8th grade, I found a list of old sayings, quotes that I really like. And I titled it Personal Proverbs. I forgot about this, but these were quotes that really resonated with me, either because I had heard them from somewhere, because they were inspired by something I heard, or because it I don't know, it came to me myself. Some of them have like creators attributed to them, and then others don't. So if I'm remembering right, the ones that don't are the ones that are either mostly inspired by me or completely written by me. So maybe I will start with the very first one. 1:1, Personal Proverbs. All right, here we go. Take one. Personal Proverbs 1:1. Normality is just a relative term for the duality of human nature, in which everyone is a causality between individuality and sociality. A few things pop up instantly when I reread this and I think about this. One is I feel like this was inspired by a B.O.B. song. There's a line from, I want to say it's Bombs Away, that, I should probably put this in stationary mode, shouldn't I? Okay, we're going to have to settle for a little bit of a wider angle because of the stationary camera mode. So, let's try that again. Normality is just a relative term for the duality of human nature. Let's start with the first half. That first half. Normality is just a relative term for the duality of human nature. There's two sides to human nature. And humans, there's so many different humans. There's so many different people with their own intrinsic motivations, experiences, and worldview. So what they define as normal is relative for the two sides of every human. And these two sides of human nature is being an individual and being part of society. And to be normal is to define your balance between individual and society in your own relative way. Because everyone is a causality. Everyone is the connection of cause and effect between someone wanting to be part of society. It's caused by a certain individualism. People wanting to separate from society by an individualism. But being a part of a society also requires the change in individualism. How much are you just one person? How much are you just blending in? I guess that's how I define individuality. It's like your own behaviors, your own either aware stream of consciousness and your thoughts, or your feelings and your emotions and your intrinsic drive to express yourself. However you define as normal is relative to you based on you as the individual and your interaction with society. So everyone is normal in their own way, I guess, because you are your own cause and effect of being an individual versus being in a community. Things happen to you that make you either want to be part of it or not part of it, and you yourself make the community feel like you want to be a part of it or like you don't want to be a part of it. I think you also have your impact on your community depending on what actions you take. So you may cause an effect on society, and society causes an effect on you. That's the causality. And everyone has that, because everyone is human, and that's the duality of human nature. Normality is just a relative term for the duality of human nature, in which everyone is a causality, the cause and effect in both directions, between being your own self, an individual, and being part of a community and living in a community and interacting with it and letting that change you and you change it. I think it's also interesting that this is the first one that I wrote. Because when I think back, I don't remember when I wrote it. But obviously at some point, I must have been desiring a sense of normalcy. And as a kid, what does that mean? It means fitting in. It means having interests for things that you want to do. Being a kid, like, what is that to be normal in a place where I am not the normal? Because for all of the first 18 years, right, that was Chelmsford, right? We know what Chelmsford and Massachusetts and New England are. At least if you're one of my friends or family watching this. I guess I should add some context to that. Being the child of my mom and dad, who came here in the 80s, being their child in what is, I'm just going to say it straight up, Chelmsford's not diverse, in a not diverse town. But now looking back, in comparison to that town to a place like Memphis, that town was part of Middlesex County. Middlesex County, I think I read on Wikipedia, Middlesex County, Massachusetts, is on the list of most populous U.S. counties according to the 2020 official enumeration and 2022 vintage population estimates by the United States Census Bureau. Now, mind you, 21st is not top 10 or whatever, but put that in context. Middlesex County is not Suffolk County, does not contain Boston. I think that's very important to make in my head, because then when you go up and you read all of these other cities, I'm going to read you the county seats for the other counties, the top 20. Los Angeles. Okay, duh. Yeah, that's going to be the most populated. Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, San Diego. That's to 5. Santa Ana County, which is Orange County in California. We got Miami, Dallas, Brooklyn, Riverside, California, Las Vegas, Queens, Seattle, San Bernardino, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Fort Lauderdale, San Jose, Detroit, Oakland, and then Lowell and Cambridge. All of these other big names, to me at least, like, I won't think anyone outside of New England is going to be like, oh yeah, let's move to Lowell or Cambridge. Maybe Cambridge. But at the same time, you think of Boston is right there in Suffolk County, but that doesn't have the same population as Middlesex County. In Middlesex County, Lowell is right next to Chelmsford. Lowell was east of Chelmsford at one point, wasn't it? Chelmsford historians quote me on that somewhere. Don't quote me on that. Look it up and then correct me, please. I remember someone saying somewhere that Lowell used to be part of Chelmsford. I can also look that up right now if I want. But anyway, I'm just going to move on. My point is, being an Indian kid in Middlesex County, which is not diverse, I wanted to know what normal was and what it meant to be normal and what my place in society was. And I think I spent a lot of time trying to craft that for myself, but not getting the balance right and doing too much in either direction. And I think my sense of normal now, as a 26-year-old, prefrontal cortex has finally clicked into place. No, I feel like there's just looking back on what I was seeking for as normal, what I find as normal, what I've been able to find now in the relationships between myself and other people around me based on society in Middlesex County and society here in Shelby County. Like, being able to understand human nature in a different context of sociality in a community. I think I swung too far in the other direction of being just by myself, like trying to work on everything alone and get through it. That sort of shift came when I moved to Memphis. And I think before then, especially at home growing up, I really wanted to be social. I was really extroverted. And I'm looking back, and I think that extrovertedness was really a front for just trying to understand the world, and being able to connect to so many people was my way of being able to see the world in different ways. And I think that connects forward to another thing I learned in my life. I just kind of said that, where I want to learn other people's points of view and be friends with them, which connects to Nen. If you watch Hunter x Hunter, it's called Nen. But the creative process. I'm not going to talk about Nen right now. We're going to save that for another time. But this personal proverb 1:1 is, I think, the first attempt for me trying to describe my place in the world, because I did not know how I wanted to be a part of the world and the world around me. I think I should be more specific. How do I guess you might call it code switch or code myself into an environment. I think that's what I was really looking for. I was looking for a code for normal. And yeah, I feel like having this be the first line is just kind of like a statement of intent for what the personal proverbs are, as well as a state of intent for how I would try to seek my normal, which is understand that everyone has their own self and their own thoughts and opinions and behaviors, and they imprint that on society, but society has also imprinted a lot of those things onto them. And so their form of normal is just that relationship between themselves and the people around them. What have people become based on people around them? And trying to understand what they find as normal comes from the people around them. And I think it tells you, like, the people around you who you surround yourself with help you define what normal is. And by exposing yourself to more people, socializing a little bit more, you get a change in your individualism. But you also then get the chance for your individualism to change others. So, normalcy to me is the balance of having enough alone time to properly process and understand and reflect what you're feeling, and giving the time and space for you to acknowledge your thoughts and be aware of your thoughts. I'll come to that in another video, but even for people that, don't have a stream of consciousness thought line, like I know I do, I think out every thought all the time, but I know some people just feel their way and let that physical, I don't know, I'm trying to understand another way of thinking here, but I've heard it described as the physical understanding and connection to what's happening around them through their 5 senses. I think adding that stream of consciousness is possible, but that's just my normal. I've grown up with Transcendental Meditation, and there's like a trend on the internet where I've seen people describe like, this is when I gained consciousness, like I was sitting in math class and this happened. And it's like, it's very interesting when people say that's when they gained consciousness. It's almost like that's when they became aware that they were able to have their own thoughts and control them. I think that's what's really important, is like, you can think anything you want, anything. So why not think about what you can? Or like, what do you need to do to think about that? Meditation has been a big part of that for me, because I remember when I was 5 sitting on the lap of my father's Transcendental Meditation teacher, and him giving me my first mantra. And he just told me, this is your word. And my dad always used to tell me, just remember your word, say your word. We'd be driving, I remember sitting at a stoplight, I was maybe 7, 8, 9. And he said, the word Mr. Rao gave you, make sure to remember that. It's very powerful. You might not understand now, but you will in time. And I really thank my dad for saying that to me the first 10 years, 12 years of my life, because that connection of meditation and Transcendental Meditation's experience of consciousness, that's helped me define my sense of normalcy. And I guess this is where this personal Proverbs kind of dives into parts of my life and how I wrote there. But so the meditation, I think it's a good connection to this being the first thing to talk about in my personal Proverbs, because that is where I found my sense of normalcy and where I have continued to find it. And in times where I've been distressed, the use of meditation really impacts the outcome of how I feel. Like, I take a sip of lemonade. Being in a family of meditators and having a mantra that I didn't have to just like sit and meditate, but it was like a walking mantra. Having that from such a young age, and not like doing it all the time, but when my dad would tell me to say my word, I would say it. And I think inherently I found meditating as something normal because my parents were longtime meditators. They went through the TM Siddhis program, and I think looking back, there's a lot of transcendental meditational, like verbiage around the word enlightenment and being enlightened. I feel like there's a lot of weight that comes with the word, like, oh, you are enlightened. It's like, I don't know how much I want to use and throw around that word, but I will in this context, because I think the word enlightened to me in this specific way of describing my parents is they felt and learned through meditation that being able to understand the self and achieve a state of consciousness where you are aware of everything around you, but not putting in any effort in this bliss, in trying to find solitude and stillness. That thoughts don't reverberate, that you get a sense of being uplifted. In another video, maybe I'll talk about my experiences as being a meditator, but I think to describe my parents, they were very leveled with me and very good at explaining the why to me without getting mad at me for certain things. And I must have been annoying, but they didn't try to change me in a way. They let me sort of express myself in being a kid, and they gave me the space to be a kid and understand the world at the same time. And they were able to be calm and thoughtful and problem solving in difficult scenarios. And being meditators really helped them keep a leveled state of mind through anything. And that to me felt normal. That to me felt like I should be learning how to meditate, that I should be in touch with my own consciousness. And so that social connection between myself and my parents affected my individual. The cause and the effect of my individual is now causing an effect on those around me or those watching this video. So to be normal is to be the relative definition of your two sides as a human being, which is that you and everyone else are both an individual and a part of the community. And that you, as an individual, have an effect on that community, and the community has an effect on you. That is what it means to be normal.